Okay, everybody. Hi, you're very welcome, and thank you for attending this Erasmus Traineeship Pre-Departure Readiness Briefing on the 1st of November 2023. So this is, just to let you know, this is the briefing session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website. So we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the briefing where you are free to ask any questions at all that you have that you need answers, or any queries that you'd just like to run by us. And should you have any questions after the session has ended, we'll provide email links for you to contact myself or Jody in the next few days, weeks, or indeed months before your departure. So my name is Kim O'Flynn. I'm the Erasmus manager, and I work in the international office here in the university. So today we're going to be speaking, let me tell you what we're going to be covering, basically who we are in the Erasmus office and what we do, an overview of the Erasmus programme, the important Erasmus documentation that you're going to be asked to complete in order to successfully get your Erasmus grant and have your Erasmus mobility approved, how to complete and submit the Erasmus grant application form, the Erasmus grant agreement and rates. We're going to cover academic preparation, so your learning agreement. We will talk about insurance and visas. We'll discuss emotional readiness. And finally, as mentioned, we're going to have a Q&A session. So the Erasmus office is located, I'm not sure if any of you know where we are. We are this salubrious little prefab just located behind the security building on Distillery Road. So at the entrance, the back entrance, the Distillery Road entrance to the university, we are located just here, as I say, behind the security office, and we're on the second floor. So basically we look after inbound and outbound staff and student mobilities, and we're right up here on the second floor, and there's myself, Kim O'Flynn Kelly, at kim.o'flynnkelly at universityofgalway.ie, and Jody Blumenfeld, who I'm sure most of you know by now. So Jody is a really important person who deals with all of your outgoing Erasmus paperwork, and more importantly with your grants. So I'm sure, as I say, you have been in contact with her about nominations, and you will be in contact with her about learning agreements and all, as I said, of your grant paperwork. So we are located up here. We're on site Tuesday and Thursdays, but we're available 9 to 5 every day online. Now, just to tell you a little bit about Erasmus past and present. So Erasmus actually stands for the European Community Action Scheme for the Mobility of University Students, and it's named after the philosopher, theologian and humanist Erasmus, who basically lived from 1465 to 1536. So Erasmus is the European Union's flagship mobility programme in education and training, and was established in 1987, with the University of Galway being involved from the very beginning. So you are going on Erasmus traineeship. So I'm not sure if you're aware, there are Erasmus study exchange programs and also traineeship. So you are going on a traineeship, which is sometimes called a placement. It involves work experience. So there's no study. You won't be asked to enroll on courses or take exams. All students who are registered with the university are eligible, regardless of nationality. And your traineeship must be formally recognised by the University of Galway. So we'll come to that in a couple of slides, how to ensure that your traineeship is a recognised mobility. So obviously we don't need to tell you guys, but what underpins our whole ethos is the belief that travelling is still the most intense form of learning. And just to run over again, in case you needed any convincing as to what's in it for you. So the ability to make international friends, create amazing memories, improve your language skills or learn new languages, try different foods, experience different cultures, generally broaden your horizons, the opportunity to really grow as a person and gain valuable skills, and academic benefits resulting in guaranteed and assured enhanced employability. So I think the university has quite a lot of data evidencing that when picking or when interviewing, employers 80% of the time will pick somebody with international either study or work experience, just for that extra edge that you will have. Okay, now the really boring part, and unfortunately this is quite dry information and there's no way of jazzing this up, but it is very pertinent information and it's in your best interest. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me. As I said, it is all being recorded, so you can refer back to it. But as I say, look, try and listen, and myself and Jodie are available for questions at the end. So key documentation for your traineeship process. All information from start to finish is included in the Erasmus Traineeship Handbook, which is on the University of Galway Erasmus website under the section of outgoing students. So this is the Bible of the traineeship process, okay? So recommend that you read this before you start to complete any of our paperwork, and just generally as an introduction into what lies ahead. So the two critical pieces of documentation are the grant application form, the Erasmus grant application form. So this will be sent to you via a web link from Jodie. You will basically, you've been nominated for a place in your chosen university. Once your nomination has been approved, which probably has happened at this stage, Jodie will be informed and will send you out a web link to complete the Erasmus grant application form. Now, it's really important to remember that the deadline is November the 15th at midnight. So once your grant application form is completed successfully and received back by Jodie, then you will be issued an Erasmus grant agreement. So we'll come to that again in a couple of slides. When completing all documentation, please remember the information that you provide will be used to create our database and mailing list. So please write carefully and accurately. We ask that you pay attention to spellings and numbers, especially bank details, and make sure to capitalize proper nouns and punctuate where necessary. Again, this all sounds very basic, but when compiling databases regarding you, your contact details, and your bank account details, we need to be really precise. When completing the Erasmus grant application form, please only it's basically very straightforward. There's approximately 30 questions. Please use your name as it appears on your passport. If you have an Irish and an English name, choose one and stick with it for consistency throughout all the paperwork. When asked for a home address, please use a permanent address for obvious reasons. Select dates using the calendar provided. So these are the dates referring to your traineeship period. So use the calendar that will be provided with the form. We recommend that you gather critical information before you start. So your bank account and sort code details. So this refers to the bank account. In case you have several bank accounts, we're referring to the bank account which you will receive the grant into. And again, if you're unsure of the dates of your traineeship, which are required in the format of day, month, year, please consult your host organization. When submitting your Erasmus grant application form, please submit via your University of Galway Office 365 account. Only complete the form once, and you'll immediately receive an email like this confirming receipt and providing further information. So basically what it'll say is, Dear Jodie, we hereby confirm receipt of your online application for the Erasmus Plus grant. In due course, closer to the date, start date of your traineeship, the International Office will send some documents to your University of Galway email address. This will include the grant agreement, which you must complete, sign and return. You need to provide the name and number of your travel insurance policy on your grant agreement. So when completing the Erasmus grant application, we will be collecting personal data. So at the end of the application form, there's a link to the university's data protection policy. You'll be required to tick a box to indicate that you've read and understood the policy and that you agree to the collection, use, and storage of your data. what happens if I miss the deadline? So we get asked this question after every single pre-departure session, multiple times per year. And the answer is always the same. If you miss the deadline, you cannot be considered for an Erasmus grant. So you may be approved to complete your placement abroad as a zero grant student, but you will not be eligible for an Erasmus grant. And yes, we are really sorry, but no matter what the reason or the excuse or how serious the excuse is, we cannot consider late applications. So now we're going to talk about the Erasmus grant agreement. So this is basically your Erasmus financial contract. So your personal contacts are pre-filled here on the form. You will be required to insert your bank details on page 1 and your insurance details on page 3. You will need to sign, date, and return the form to outgoing Erasmus at universityofgalway.ie. And you will be required to do this as quickly as possible in order to receive your Erasmus grant in a timely fashion. So you can technically submit this anytime up to your departure date, but obviously the sooner you get it into Jody, the sooner it's processed and ready for kickoff once your mobility starts. When your mobility does start, by the time the payment is kicked off, processed out of our bank and into your bank, it'll take 4 to 6 weeks. So please don't think you're going to get the grant in 1 to 2 weeks. It's basically 4 to 6 weeks, no sooner, no later. So the really important question, how much do you get paid and when? So traineeship students in Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and Liechtenstein receive €535 per month. It's €480 per month for all other countries. Now, there is an additional grant of $250 available for financially disadvantaged students, and this is called the SISI Social Inclusion Grant, based on SUSI Maintenance Grant eligibility. So if you are eligible for a full SUSI grant, you will be eligible for the SISI grant, which is an additional $250 of a top-up to your monthly traineeship rate. If you have any questions, please let Jody know. And if you haven't heard about your SUSI, whether you've been successful in your application for SUSI this academic year, then please contact the fees office before you go to Jody. The main grant installment is paid at the beginning of the traineeship period, and the remainder of the grant is paid after the traineeship period, provided all of the necessary paperwork has been submitted. So, as I said, the Erasmus grant is a financial contract, and as with any contract, there can be a breach of contract. And this occurs in this case when you fail to complete the agreed traineeship period, or you fail to complete a minimum of 2 months abroad. So if you return home without completing the agreed traineeship period, for example, 1 semester or 2 semesters, but you have completed 2 months, you'll be asked to return a proportion of the grant. If you return home without completing your traineeship period, you will more than likely have financial implications in terms of you will need to repeat the year, and fees will not be waived for repeat years. For Erasmus traineeships, academic documentation requirements. So this basically involves your Erasmus learning agreement and your traineeship cert. And in terms of contracts, the Erasmus learning agreement is your academic contract for your traineeship. So this can be downloaded from the universityofgalway.ie /Erasmus program /outgoing students /Erasmus traineeships. So again, I'm sure you have met at this stage with your academic coordinators and started the conversation about your learning agreement. But if you have any queries or you want to locate the form yourself, this is where it is hosted. Before you begin completing your learning agreement, we recommend that you read pages 18 to 19 of the traineeship handbook. The learning agreement must be completed in advance of your traineeship, ensuring that your mobility will be recognised by the University of Galway. So the learning agreement for traineeships looks like this. So basically your own details, details of the sending institution, that's us, the University of Galway, the receiving organisation, so that will be where you are going to do your placement, and all of this here needs to be completed before your mobility period. So just basically what your title is going to be, number of hours per week, what you're meant to cover in your work period, who's going to monitor you, how they're going to monitor you, and the agreed plan for evaluation. You will need to liaise with your host organisation regarding the content of your proposed traineeship. So you'll both need to agree the tasks you're going to carry out, the skills, knowledge you will acquire, and how your progress and performance will be monitored and evaluated. You need to make sure that the host organisation completes its section in full. So this will be details about the organisation, salary, if you're applicable, if you are going to receive a salary. Some people do, some people don't, and the insurance coverage provided by the host organisation. So the learning agreement has to be signed before you go on traineeship. It's got to be signed by 3 people: yourself, your University of Galway academic coordinator, and your host supervisor. So more than likely you're going to have to email it to your host supervisor, get them to scan it, sign it, and get it back to you before your mobility commences. If you have any queries about this, again, myself and Jody are always available, as is your academic coordinator, but there's a very detailed instructional video on how to complete the Erasmus learning agreement for traineeships available on YouTube at this link. So you're, again, just following up on the traineeship certificate. So this actual certificate of what you have completed and achieved needs to be filled out before you leave the host organisation. Your host, the person that's managing you, must fill in the section evaluation of the trainee. The form must be signed, stamped, and dated. Please submit the fully completed form to the Erasmus office at the University of Galway before you leave your host organisation destination. So basically, once your last day is over, but before you have left your mobility, just get that back to us so we can process your remaining grant. So this is what has to be completed after the mobility. So this is a little bit confusing. So we just basically mean after your work period. So perhaps in the last couple of days, the name of the trainee, name of the receiving organisation or enterprise, start and end of the traineeship, knowledge, skills and competences acquired, evaluation, date and stamp. Insurance. So private health insurance is mandatory as part of the Erasmus grant agreement contract. So as I referred to earlier on the grant agreement, you will be asked to provide insurance details. If insurance details aren't provided, or if they don't meet our minimum requirements, your grant application will be deemed void. If you have an existing health policy, please check what's covered. So if you're covered underneath your parents' policy, you just need to ask them for details of personal liability coverage, coverage for medical expenses, repatriation, and lost or stolen possessions and disruption to travel plans. So you will be able to find details on the University of Galway website detailing our insurance requirements and the names and contact details of insurance providers if you don't have your own insurance. So basically, you just need to make sure that your own or your parents' insurance coverage matches what we require from a university perspective. So you must hold a European health insurance card if eligible. As the name suggests, this basically entitles you to certain levels of insurance throughout Europe. So if, in order to see if you are eligible, please go to www.ehic. So will you need a visa for your traineeship? Well, if you're not an EU citizen, you may need a visa for a traineeship in your destination country. It's up to you to look this up. So you need to investigate online, do a Google search, or check your destination country's embassy in Ireland. And please note that this obviously applies now to UK citizens who only hold a British passport. We recommend that you're prepared for your mobility and your time abroad. So we suggest researching the city or country where you'll be living, look at tourism websites, read some reports from our former students who may have been to the same cities, if not organizations, as you'll be visiting, and either read online or purchase travel guidebooks, always a fail-safe way of investigating where you'll be going. We strongly suggest that you download the Erasmus Plus app and that you also refer to websites like www.justlanded.com, which has a section on culture that can be quite interesting. And we ask that you register with the Department of Foreign Affairs, just to let them know, register your destination, so that if there are any either natural disasters or if there is any emergencies, you will be registered with them and easily contactable. Also, the Department of Foreign Affairs website offers information on country-specific local laws and safety, and just provides details of your Irish embassy or consulate that would be closest to you. Some items for your to-do list. So you need to complete your Erasmus grant application and get that in case I didn't mention it, by November the 15th to Jody. Arrange your European health insurance card where eligible and your travel insurance. Make sure your passport is valid for at least 6 months after your final return trip. Set up online banking if you already haven't done so. Consider getting an international student identification card if you don't already have one. Obviously, this, I'm sure you're aware of this, and this entitles you to discounts on travel, stores, restaurants, etc. Research accommodation in your destination city or town, and join our Facebook group, University of Galway Outgoing Erasmus 23-24. So what we'll send you is a grant agreement, obviously post receipt of a 100% completed grant application form. We'll send you a copy of the Erasmus Student Charter, the Erasmus timeline, and a safety advice sheet. So what do we need from you post-grant? So once you're on your mobility and you've received your first payment, we will require a grant acknowledgement form for each grant installment. So we're going to need a total of 2 grant acknowledgement forms. You will need to detail the amount that you've received and sign it, please. A student survey will need to be completed after your Erasmus visit. So you will receive an email from a do not reply address. It's an EU do not reply address. Please check your junk mail. Just sometimes it goes into your spam. So this is really important. It seems quite a small request, but if you don't complete this survey, in the eyes of the EU, you haven't completed your mobility and we won't be able to proceed with your final instalment. And lastly, your traineeship cert, as we mentioned, please have this signed and stamped just as you're finishing your Erasmus activities, not in advance. So students with disabilities. So disability or exceptional needs grants are available to assist with additional costs involved in completing a traineeship period abroad. If you have disabilities that incur additional costs, please contact us in the international office and we'll advise you how to proceed from here. Students who are registered with the Disability Service should inform your disability officer that you're going abroad. And we also really recommend that you inform your host organisation about your disability and your support requirements. So only a couple more slides to go. So emotional readiness. So we've covered your academic and financial contracts, and now it's to your emotional well-being. So I guess, you know, we all know about homesickness and culture shock. So what is culture shock? So it's basically the impact of moving from a familiar culture to one which is unfamiliar. And you know, it happens. Many people who have traveled abroad frequently, and people even who have lived or studied abroad before, it can happen out of the blue, and no matter how prepared you think you are. So how do you manage if affected by culture shock? Well, we recommend that a way of preempting it may be to have a peer group or a trusted friend or family member that you do a Q&A session with before you leave. Just run some situations by them to make sure that you're prepared. We recommend maybe bringing some non-perishables with you to remind you of home. Maybe small blankets, your favorite tea, coffee, some aromatherapy oils, anything that's going to make you feel just comfortable and less in an alien place, as it were. It is the symptoms can include boredom, feeling unmotivated, withdrawn, feeling grumpy, getting irritated more than usual, or getting irritated over really small things that normally wouldn't really rattle you that much. We do say that fatigue and jet lag that you'll experience on arrival can exacerbate an initial culture shock. So do please talk to somebody if you're going through this. As I say, plan a pre-trip Q&A with a trusted source. Contact your academic coordinator if the feelings don't sort of lift in a couple of weeks. Myself and Jodie are at the end of the line or at the end of an email. And if you feel that the feelings are getting stronger or worse, we strongly recommend that you contact the University of Galway Counselling Service. So again, just a note that alcohol and drugs can induce anxiety or low moods. So just take this into account in the first few weeks of your mobility. And you're not alone. As I said, it happens a high percentage of not just students, but people in general that travel abroad or leave the familiarity of home. But we can tell you that students that do suffer from homesickness are usually the very students that don't want to return home at the end of their mobility. We're just giving you a gentle reminder to contact your family or support group on a regular basis, and just remember that you're an ambassador for your country and your university. So finally, just if you remember anything at all from this presentation, we ask you to remember that if we don't receive your grant application on time, that is by November the 15th at midnight, you will not receive a grant. So tempting as it is to leave it till the last day, we recommend that you start it in the next week and fine tune it maybe the second week in November and get it off to Jodie bright and early before November the 15th. And that's it. Myself and Jodie wish you all a really wonderful traineeship experience. We're sure that it's going to be one of the best times of your lives. I did it many, many moons ago, and I can tell you that you won't have any regrets. It's going to be a wonderful time. We are here to support you. So you have our emails. You can drop in anytime before you go, and any query at all, just let us know. No question is too small, or there's no such thing as a silly question. So now I'm going to hand over to you and ask if there's any questions.
And if you want to type a question, you can just use the chat or the Q&A button here in Zoom. If you want to just write out a question, I can answer.
So as I said at the beginning, this video recording will be available on our website, and you can refer to the slides if you have any queries. Okay, so when will we receive the link for the grant application form?
Sure, I can answer that one. I'm going to email everyone the link to the online grant application shortly after the presentation. You'll either receive it from me this afternoon or tomorrow. And once again, don't stress about the application. It's 30 questions, and most of them are the answers are from drop-down menus. Really simple questions like your name, your date of birth, where you're going, what's your start date, what's your end date, what's the name of your degree program here at the university. So you should be able to get the application finished within 10-15 minutes. So I'll send that out to you in the next couple of days.
So the first half of the payment is installed at the beginning of your traineeship, and the second half after it has finished. Yeah, that's correct. Providing all of the necessary paperwork is completed and submitted.
And one other thing to say about that is the first payment is about 80% of your total. So the grant isn't split 50-50. You get about 80% at the beginning, and then the final 20% is after you've finished and after we've received your traineeship certificate and you've done the online participant survey. So if I'm an international student from Spain, how does the European health insurance card work? You might, depending on how long you've been resident here in Ireland, you might be eligible for the Irish version, but if you've got the whatever local version of the EHIC they have, I think Spain also has the European health insurance card. But whatever you're eligible for, if you're eligible for a similar card, we would ask that you hold that.
Can we complete the online application before the documents are filed, learning agreement, etc.? Is there a specific order we should follow? So,
I can, oh, do you want to answer it, or do you want
no,
me?
you go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I have already sent a blank version of the learning agreement out to all of you, so you should have received an email from me. If any biotechnology students are joining us today, speak to Siobhan Cunningham about that, because she will be helping you fill out the learning agreement. But any of the other students, and I think if there shouldn't be any medical students here, but Dee Sheridan will be helping you with your learning agreement. But anyone else, you would have received a blank copy of the learning agreement. Please start filling that out now. You can start on that before you've received the link to the online grant application form from me. If you've got any questions about the learning agreement, please send me an email. But we do have instructions, as Kim said, in our handbook, and there's the YouTube link for the instructional video, and I've sent that out via email to all of you as well. So you should have already received an email from me with our handbook that has instructions, with a copy of the blank learning agreement, and the link to the YouTube video that takes you through the learning agreement step by step and shows you how to fill out each section. But if you have any questions about that, please send me an email. But yes, you can fill that out now before you start on the online grant application.
Is the University of Galway student card internationally recognized? Now, as far as I know, Jodie, you can contradict me on this. It's not guaranteed. Nobody's under obligation to recognize it internationally. Some may, as a gesture of goodwill, but you are required to get an ISIC, an International Student Identification Card, which guarantees discounts, global discounts, and recognition as a student.
Yeah, it's a good idea to apply for that, because there are some good benefits. What do we need the EHIC for? I'm German. I'm not sure if there's an equivalent for us. Might be hard to get. If you're eligible for the EHIC, it is required in terms of health and some potential eventualities that could happen. It's university policy. So the University of Galway requires all students who are eligible for the EHIC to hold the EHIC. If you're not eligible, then you don't need to worry about it. But you're also required to purchase private travel insurance, and it is a university policy. So you will not have, I guess, university permission to go abroad unless you hold a private insurance policy, and you definitely will not get an Erasmus grant unless you hold a private insurance policy. Is there any other, Kim, did you want to speak to any of the?
No, I think that's them all answered. Yeah, so look, it's a couple of months before you all go on your mobility. So as I say, this will be up on the web, so please feel free to refer back to it. But really, everything is covered in the traineeship handbook and on the YouTube video that Jodie referred to. And then just as a backup, we're always here and contactable by email. So it is really straightforward. There's obviously a lot of documentation because it's an EU process involving funds. So just remember to get your grant application in, followed by your grant agreement, your grant acknowledgement form, and two more things we didn't mention is your certificate of arrival. Oh no, you don't have a certificate of arrival because you're a traineeship. Just your traineeship cert. So 4 pieces of documentation, and followed up by your end report. And yeah, it's great. It's a funded way of working, living, and experiencing abroad, and it's going to be fantastic. So, thanks to you all for attending today, and just wishing you the best of luck ahead. And we're here if you need us. Okay, so thanks again. Take care. Bye.